For approved Child Care Planning Council of Yuba-Sutter County's local planning council county priorities report for general child care and development programs, and authorize the chair to execute. Okay, we have additional agenda information.
Yeah, through the chair, I have some comments on this, and also maybe it's an opportunity to give council a little bit of a heartache this morning, since they haven't had enough of one. But so when I was reviewing the agenda packet, I noticed in this particular document some non-substantive changes that I requested, essentially as a result of redistricting. Some of the zip codes and what supervisor districts were associated with those zip codes had changed, and I reached out and recommended that those changes be made. And I want to thank Tanya at the Child Care Planning Council for making those changes. I know the board has an updated document with those changes. I did notice they implemented one change that I requested that actually I should not have requested. I made a typo. I transcribed two zip codes, 95692 and 95962 are two zip codes we have in the county, one Oregon House, one Wheatland. And I did go back and look at my email that I sent to Tanya, and I incorrectly stated something in my email, and then she incorrectly updated that on the document. So here's where I'm going to give council the heartache. I would like to move that we approve the document as amended so far, with one additional correction, or at least that we suggest one additional correction. I'm not sure how the appropriate way is to do this, but right now Oregon House is listed as being in the 4th and 5th supervisorial districts. That actually should be next to Wheatland in the 4th and 5th supervisorial districts, and Oregon House should just have a 5.
Oregon House is 5. Wheatland is 4, 5.
So that's a motion to
I think to approve this document and request that one additional change. Is that an appropriate motion?
Okay. Yeah, yes, thank you, Supervisor Bradford. That would be to approve and make those the stated change, request that the stated change be made before the document is submitted.
Okay.
I'll second that as amended.
All right. Any comments from the public? Back to the board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right. Moving right along. Ordinances and public hearing. Give the sheriff a chance to get out of here.
If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing, or in written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group.
All right, one of the change to 249. We're going to continue that to June 13th. All right, 197, Sheriff.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. The item that I have before you today is a request to, this is the second meeting that we've had, and we've addressed this in a request that you waive the second reading and adopt a policy, chapter 2.156, regarding adopting a military equipment use policy to Title 2 of the Yuba County Ordinance Code. This is something that's mandated by Assembly Bill 481, which passed through our illustrious legislative bodies last year, and it requires the sheriff to seek authorization from you, the governing body, to purchase, acquire, and to keep military equipment. The military equipment is it's a very long list, and a lot of items that you wouldn't normally associate with military equipment, such as our command and control vehicle, our mobile command post. So,
Okay.
I won't belabor all of the items that are included in that, but if you have any questions, I can be happy to answer them. I also have our commander of our SWAT team, a patrol lieutenant, and he's the chief coordinator of our military acquisition.
Okay. I'm going to have to open the public hearing. Forgot to do that. Okay. Any further comments?
I'm here for any questions you may have, or any questions that anyone may have.
Any questions from the board? Through the chair, what's roughly, is there any financial impact here anywhere?
No, essentially, the policy that we have in place and the ordinance is items that we already have in our possession, items that are already budgeted in our budget for purchase. It would require us, before acquiring any additional items, to come before the board. So any costs, any changes in that would come before this board before they.
So these are pretty reasonably priced when we get them.
Well, I guess that is up to some of them are quite expensive. Because it does include armored personnel, vehicles, it includes ammunition, but things that we need to perform the duties of our job and provide public safety in the county of Yuba.
Yeah, the more you can get, the better, I think. Yeah. All right.
I agree with that.
Okay. Any questions? Any further questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All right, bring it back to board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Close the public hearing and
Roll call.
all those in roll call. Okay. All right.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Pure is absent. Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sheriff. Auditor Controller, hold public hearing. We'll open the public hearing before he even gets up here. Waive the first reading and introduce ordinance amending Chapter 2.85 of the Yuba County Ordinance Code.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Eberly, Auditor Controller. The request, the ordinance update we have for you today deals with hopefully something simple, but deals with the validity period for warrants we issue by the county. Currently, the validity period means the period that they can present the warrant to the bank or to the cash on the county treasury is 2 years. This presents some extensive tracking problems for my staff, and a lot of effort involved in maintaining the list of warrants that have been issued but not cashed. In addition to that, first, actually, what I'd like to do is say the purpose of the resolution or the ordinance is to reduce that validity period from 2 years to 6 months. And what this means from a practical standpoint is that that we issue a check and then 6 months later, it no longer becomes valid. So if a recipient of a check or a warrant wants to cash it, they have to come back and provide some additional paperwork. But it provides a quicker turnaround process. There's a number of motivating factors that have prompted this change. One of the biggest ones is the fact that banks are starting to reject checks that are older than 6 months currently, and it requires an additional effort on staff, both at the auditor's office and the treasurer's office, to make sure that those warrants get processed the way that we've issued them. So this ordinance change brings us in compliance with banking regulations, banking practices, and also reduces the impact on our staff, and additionally reduces the fraud risk that the company will be exposed to by having checks valid for a longer period.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Through the chair, what's currently printed on the check now?
I believe it's 2 years. We'll have to work with our vendor to get the number changed.
But yeah, there's some kind of limitation on there though right now. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
So through the chair, after 2 years, then there's a period of time where they could come and fill out paperwork and essentially have the check reissued. So is that time changing under the new ordinance, or is that staying the same?
That
it's just
time frame is staying the same.
Okay.
That's stipulated by government code.
Okay.
And we're just the county ordinance for the validity of checks. Thank you for that clarification. So additionally, checks will be able to be reissued for 2 years after that 6 month period passes. They will be they'll go through additional process until.
Great, thank you.
All right. No further questions. Any questions from the public?
My question is that normally it's 2 years is the maximum limit right now.
2 years is the validity period, meaning they can present the issued warrant 2 years after its issued date.
Correct. Okay. How many situations arise where that limit is reached? I mean, how many people are not wanting to get money for 2 years? They're just sitting on a pile and We don't need to cash that check from Yuba County and here, oh, I found this one, 3 years later. Just curious.
That's a great question. I don't have specific numbers on that. To answer your question, I do not have specific numbers. The more it becomes a policy and a risk exposure and a compliance issue.
Absolutely, I'm 100%. I was just curious how many incidences, what's driving this, other than the fact that.
Excuse me. Talk to the board.
Excuse me.
Talk to the board. Not board.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Okay. So my question is so basically I already stated my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, now we need a roll call vote. Roll call vote, we have a motion in a second.
Need to close the public comment.
Close public comment, yeah. Jeez.
Doesn't matter which side I'm sitting on yet.
Run, but you can't hide, okay. Roll call vote, please.
No.
Did we get a motion?
We don't have a motion yet.
Okay.
I'll make them. Also moved.
I'll second.
Supervisor
All right.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer is absent, Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, board and staff member reports. Supervisor Don.
So the last day or so, I had the opportunity to attend a couple of youth-related activities, and one was the Career Technical Education Board, which I've been on for a number of years. It's really encouraging to see these kids, particularly in that meeting. There was a really nice PowerPoint presentation from the future farmers. These kids are part of our future leaders and is very encouraging. The other one was music recital, which all of us have been to at one point or another, but this was the Charter Academy of the Arts, and it's good once again to see these kids that are dedicated and focused. So that's what I got.
So the last 2 weeks, I've actually had my water agency hat on quite a bit, including going to Aqua, and the governor visited our county for a big announcement about fish passage around DeGear Point Dam. And we also had an announcement about a partnership between UC Citrus, the city of Wheatland, Yuba Water Agency to collaborate on research and to hopefully in the future establish a research center in the city of Wheatland. But a few county-related items that I've been involved with was RCRC had their bi-monthly meeting 2 weeks ago, and usually it's in Sacramento, but once a year they have it in the county of the chair. And this year that was in Butte County, so not too far for me. So spent a couple days up in Chico, gathered with other rural county representatives. And then also SACOG had a board meeting last week, and they have a funding cycle that they go through every 2 to 3 years. And the county applied for 4 grants in that funding cycle and actually did very well. We received 3 of the 4 grants. And so there's a list on the SACOG website. There was also an article in the Appeal Democrat about Yuba-Sutter in general, including the grants that we received, but some Safe Routes to School grants, some State of Good Repair, which is overlay on Loma Rica Road and South Beale Road. And so some exciting projects. And later this week, I have the opportunity to participate in Career Day at McKinney Intermediate School. And I'm going to talk about being a supervisor. So I'm really excited about that. And then next week, I'll be out of town at the request of SACOG to attend a conference related to kind of land use and development kinds of things due to my role on as chair of the Land Use and Natural Resources Committee at SACOG. So that's it.
Okay.
I'm up. I'm going to make a suggestion that we change the supervisor's comments to the beginning of the meeting when we have a full audience. They have all this stuff prepared. I got all dressed up for my talk today, and everybody's gone.
Live stuff.
This Monday, Memorial Day, We're having a veterans barbecue at the Loma Rica Lions Club in Loma Rica at noon. Veterans eat free. I will be cooking tri-tip chicken and hot dogs. Although I think they're going to have the tri-tip cooked by the experts. I'll just be doing chicken and hot dogs. So I wanted to invite everybody to that. On the 10th of May, I went to Fire Safe Council evening meeting in Oregon House. The 11th, I went to Beale Air Force Base to meet with Colonel Mako Church, wing commander of Beale. The 12th, BLMAC meeting. And then also on the 12th through the 14th, I attended the UNS Festival and volunteered to bartend there. The operators of the UNS Festival, Avi and his wife, were gracious enough to allow the Alcoof Center to have the bar as their fundraiser. And I will have a report at their next meeting, but last night they said it was very successful for them. So it's great local community support from the UNS Festival. The 18th, I attended the Be Prepared Fair in Brownsville, which is a great event put on by the county, mainly by OES. One other thing I would like to announce for Supervisor Fear, who's not here, and it was sent to me by Mr. McWhorter and by Seth Fear, is the Lyndhurst Moose tonight is having burgers and hot dogs at Grumpy's tonight as a fundraiser. It's tonight, the 23rd, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. if anybody can make it down there. And then I wanted to finish by letting you all know, the Matthews family is a huge family in District 5, great people, great community-minded people. Fred Matthews Jr. passed away on May 1st. I went to high school with him, and so I just wanted to let everybody know that, just the loss to our district.
Okay. Thank you. Very busy man. I'd like to thank Public Works for taking care of the graffiti all along our bridge and power boxes. Seems that some of the people are getting very active with red paint on all those boxes. I went to the Stand Down fundraiser and went to the UNS Festival, and if you've never been there, please go. It's a great organization, one of the most laid back people I've ever run across. You can walk through the entire festival and there's not a piece of paper on the ground. And how they park all those cars there, I have no idea. One of the things I did want to mention, I did go to the North Central Counties Consortium, and they're talking about doing workforce information for the children of the school, and Wheatland apparently has a very good program, and my suggestion was to see if they can get that program and bring it to the entire Marysville Joint Unified School District. We have certain schools that are termed good schools and some not so good. And my question is, why aren't all our schools the same? I got a real problem with a lot of the things that are happening in the schools. One of the things is the trans situation where they're using chemicals without the parent consent on minors. And it just found out the other week is it's not FDA approved, and in fact it's used in sexual predators to chemically castrate them, and it's never been designed as a puberty blocker. And there was a test done on 371 kids nationwide, and 2 of those died. And I would like the school to come in and explain, are we doing that in this county? Because if we're not standing up for our kids, then who will? They're your kids. They're parents out there. They're your kids. But we as a board have to stand up for the kids in our group, in our community. This is not proper medical procedure. And 2 states, Texas and Florida, have both made it a crime for them to use these chemicals on these kids, especially without. You have to get ID for cigarettes. You have to be 18 to get a tattoo, but you can be 13 years old and have a double mastectomy that is permanently disfiguring you for the rest of your life. And they found out that 85.7% of the individuals that have what they call dyslexia or whatever they want to call it. We have a school board that is involved with these items in a school, and we're the lowest with literacy in the nation. California is the lowest. Why don't we get proficient at teaching kids instead of trying to change their mental health, their medical situations that we deem necessary to mutilate kids? If I sound a little hostile, I am. So let me quiet down on that. And we need to adjourn in honor of Brian Schull. Brian Schull is kind of a quiet little hero. Come to find out, he was probably, well, he may have been with the CIA. That's why they don't mention it. But he was crashed in a T-28. That's where he got the burns, and they found him and brought him back. And I've quoted him numerous times. Because of his crash, he says, you know, a good landing is one you can walk away from. And I've got 800 hours in the air. And a great landing is one where you can use the airplane again. And I remember that, and I had one great landing. So, but, and we any further comments from the board? Any comments from?
Well, we have closed session.
County Council. Oh, okay. Well, this is staff members. So,
yep, I got a couple quick things for you.
Okay.
Wanted to make sure the board was aware. I believe y'all received the invite from the Public Works Department. They have an open house today at the new Corporation Yard on Skyway Drive from 1 to 2 p.m. today. Definitely invite the board members out to Skyway Drive.
Okay.
Backside of the airport.
Good.
Cool. So that's from 1 to 2 p.m. today. The other was to request through the chair that an ad hoc be formed to focus in on the Museum of Forgotten Warriors issue in regards to kind of finding a path forward long term for the Museum of Forgotten Warriors.
There were people that were supposed to have been talked to that needed to be talked to, and who?
Yes, there's conversations that you have. Mike Lee is kind of leading the efforts for staff. Mike would like to have an ad hoc that he can work with on that to bring to resolution the tenant issues that the museum has currently.
Okay.
To come up with a long-term solution.
That used to be in my district. I'd like to be honest.
So it'll be the chair's discretion on appointing 2 people to the ad hoc if you so choose to put the ad hoc together.
It is my district, and I'd really like to be on it.
Okay.
It's up to you, though. You're the chair.
All right. Well, we get 2. You and me.
Sure.
That works.
You're the boss.
Okay. Thank you very much. No, I think good fit.
All right, and then I just have one final item, and actually this relates to Supervisor Bradford's district. It has to do with the city of Wheatland. So the city of Wheatland is in the process to annex additional lands associated with Bishop's Pumpkin Farm. Now that process, they have to, it's a protracted process. They need to update their general plan actually as part of this. They have to go through LAFCO. So it's a protracted process. And in the meantime, Bishop's has plans to do some expansion later this year. There's a few buildings they want to build. And so those buildings would be on properties that would be in the unincorporated area, but the city would be willing to serve them in this interim period with sewer and water. As part of that, the city has reached out to the county and asked if we can execute an MOU to work out that we have a tax sharing agreement in place with the city. However, during this interim period, we didn't really address that in the tax sharing agreement. So this would be a separate MOU. Due to time constraints, what I'm asking the board, just from a consensus, I'd like to send a letter to the city of Marysville. It'd be on my letterhead that it basically just say that in concept we support working with the city on this, and I'll bring forward an MOU at a later date for the board to consider. But we support in concept what they're requesting, that we work out an interim solution here for property tax sharing.
Well, they don't get it all, do they?
No. So our tax sharing agreement outlined, just to give a little bit additional background, our tax sharing agreement outlined that when properties are annexed into the city, the county keeps the base on the property tax, and then we share future increment increases between the city and the county. This is a unique situation because the base is going to be increasing while they're processing. Yes, which would be great, which would be advantageous to the county, but in all fairness to the city is going to be providing these services to bishops. Fairness, yes, and so that's where the concept is. It's like that's fine. We're willing. The city is willing to work with bishops to continue them expanding during this transition period, and so the county that would be my indication in the letter is the county is willing to work with the city to make sure there's not a long-term loss to the city in terms of tax revenue as part of that.
Could we ask also that we add the stipulation that they pick a route, a Wheatland bypass route? I mean, there's only been three choices since '09 that I know
of. We're equal partners in that on the South Yuba Transportation Improvement Authority, but we're definitely trying to lock that down and move forward. Right. But as long as the board doesn't any objections, I'll put that letter.
No objections from me. Thank you for your work on this.
Right. Okay.
That's all I had.
That's all you have, County Council?
Just briefly, I want to thank the board again for your action earlier, appointing Joe as your next county council. This will be my last board meeting. Joe will be picking him up from here. Yeah, isn't it great?
I'm still going to change that calendar or something.
I'm still going to be around. I'm going to be around. Don't you worry. I'll be here. If you need me, you got my number, and I'll be in the office. But Joe hit the ground running, and he'll be taking the board meetings going forward. The other thing I wanted to say was Monday, as Supervisor Messick pointed out, is Memorial Day, and I think as we celebrate that day and at barbecues and swimming and watching baseball and whatever else we do, that we all just take a moment during that day to reflect upon the sacrifices that were made by those individuals that we honor on Memorial Day. So thank you.
Additional comment from me, it's 1% to 1.5% of the entire population has served or is serving. And on my radio shows, for those who fought for it, freedom has a special taste. To protect it, we'll never know. And unless you've lived in a foreign country, you have no idea the liberties that you have here. In other countries, they shoot you and just cross the Mexican border, and you'll see the results of that. But thank you.
Closed session?
Closed session. How about a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.